Dan Leach back here in Chicago at Benzinga's Cannabis Capital Conference. What an honor to introduce Michael DeGilio, the president and CEO of Village Farms International. Great to see you. Top-level suit you got going on here.
Thank you. Well, we're celebrating our Pink Kush and Women's Cancer Week.
It's a great thing to celebrate. Now, I mentioned to you, I've never been to this conference before. It's my first time. You have. It really is an incredible experience for those that aren't here. We got to get everyone to come out here.
We do. I mean, Chicago's awesome, and we've been coming to Benzinga now really since we've been in cannabis about almost 9 years. And I always learn something when I come here. It's great to meet a lot of new folks and people I know. It's an awesome show.
Great to meet people like you. Let's talk about Village Farms International. I know you guys have a lot of great stuff going on. Let the people know what's going on right now.
Well, Village Farms, we've been doing controlled environmental agriculture almost 4 decades, from cut flowers to high-value produce, and pivoted to cannabis about 9 years ago in Canada. We're a U.S. company, but we do not participate in the U.S. cannabis market at this point because we trade on a NASDAQ, right. And being it's federally illegal, we cannot participate. However, we do have a company based out of Denver that's in cannabinoids based on the 2017 Farm Bill that legalized hemp products as well. However, we are probably one of the largest, if not the largest, producer of cannabis, legal producer of cannabis in the world today in Canada, both in British Columbia and in outside of Montreal, Quebec, where we have about 2.3 million square feet of cannabis in production. We are also exporters of medicinal cannabis with our EU GMP certification to countries around the world, including the UK, Israel, Australia, Germany. And I'm very proud to say we're the only North American company that has received one of 10 licenses for recreational cannabis in the Netherlands. And we just completed our first cultivation project and should have our first harvest at the end of December. That's a big step for us. Big step for the EU with the Netherlands leading in recreational cannabis. So excited, and ultimately want to come back to the U.S. when U.S. politics gets their act together.
Well, and Michael, that's kind of been a common thread of a lot of the different people that we've had the pleasure, like you, of talking to. Not to get you to make any kind of predictions, but when it comes to regulation and when it comes to legalization, and it comes to where we're at in the United States, are you hopeful? I mean, without trying to get you to say what you think is going to happen, it seems to me like we're tracking towards a good place. Are you hopeful about that?
I always like to say hope is not a strategy or an option. I would say that I'm disillusioned, and I would say also embarrassed. I've served for the United States Navy 28 years.
Thank you for your
my
service.
Country, retaring as a naval captain. I was a naval aviator, jet pilot. And I'm embarrassed by the politics for cannabis because 67% or roughly of Americans support legalized cannabis. It's an incredible plant that has helped many people. And we have a number of politicians who just don't want to understand that. And here we are years later fumbling around. It's really upsetting when you have nearly 40 states, United States, that have legalized cannabis, either medicinal, recreational, or both, but we have no legislation at the federal level today that supports that. No one regulating it whatsoever. And it's disappointment. I can remain somewhat hopeful because we have nearly 7 million square feet of high-tech greenhouses in Texas, which, as you know, remains the most conservative state.
Right.
But at some point, that optionality for us, I believe, can make us very strong in the U.S. market. So we're going to provide patience for that. We'll be prepared because victory loves preparation. And in the meantime, continue to lead in Canada. We're top 2 market share in Canada, number 1 in flower for 3 years running. And we hope to be a leader in cannabis going forward in the European theater as well.
No, it's beautiful stuff. And listen, a lot of companies, they want to say they are unique, and some are, but you really could back it up. You guys really have a lot of unique principles and properties.
Yeah, well, there's, our DNA has been cultivation, and to exist in this environment for 35 years cultivating, we've learned a lot. And I often say, one of the pillars of success we have is not that we're smarter, that we made these mistakes over 3.5 decades, and we were able to apply that knowledge to cannabis and mitigate the mistakes where others were very new to the game. And we paid the piper in the past. So hopefully we'll get benefit going forward from that.
And speaking of going forward, where do you see the next year, the next 2, the next 5 years for Village Farms International?
Well, I think what's exciting is I think there will be a domino effect on cannabis. If you look at the U.S. market, $25 billion today, moving towards $30 billion. The EU, Germany alone could be a $30, $40 billion market. I don't think there's any consumer product category that has the potential for global cannabis in those countries that will move forward, and I think you'll see it much more Asia, so Australia, EU. So we continue to apply patience, prudent capital spending. We do our homework. We want to know what the legislation is before we enter a market to not make a mistake. So we're very excited about the medium and long term. And I'm the founder of Village Farms. 35 years ago, I'm still the largest shareholder. We're on the NASDAQ, so my money's where my mouth is, and I'm aligned with my shareholders.
What a lineage, Michael DeGilio, the president and CEO of Village Farms International. Super exciting times ahead for you, and just an honor to talk to you.
Thanks for the interview. I appreciate it.
My true pleasure.